Hello, welcome to the Loop and Bar podcast. My name's Kate and I'm coming to you from North Wales in the UK. This is my podcast about knitting and crochet, except I haven't done any crochet for ages, sewing and any other little bits of craft that I might feel like sharing as well. So, this is episode 13. And I have a couple of finished objects to show, some whips, and I've got a Welsh word of the episode, and I'm going to show a couple of books, but they're not like novel books. They're just one's about knitting and one's just something else. So I'll only show you those briefly. So. I feel like I'm going to sneeze. No, I think I'm okay. Today I've woken up with some sinus problems. Sometimes my sinuses are okay and sometimes they're not. And today they're not. My nose doesn't look swollen from the outside, but it feels really swollen from the inside, and I'm sneezing quite a bit. So I'm hoping I'm not going to sneeze during the podcast. So if I do, I'll edit it out. I think I might know somebody who might laugh at that. Right, I'm going to dive in. And I think the first thing I just want to mention is the Ravelry group. I'm looking at my notes here because I've written down some numbers. Just before I started podcasting, I had a quick look on the Ravelry group. And I'm really pleased to say that we've got 84 members in the Ravelry group so far, so that is absolutely brilliant. So I just want to say thank you to anybody who's come over and joined in with the Ravelry group. There's a few different threads going on in there, so feel free to have a little look through all of them. Feel very free to join in with the Cal. I don't think it's too late if you want. We've still got another, how long? 5 or 6 weeks to go on the Cal, the Cozy Autumn Long Cal, so I'll talk about that one in a little bit. There's an introduction thread if you want to say hello, and there's a random chat thread, so you don't have to be in the Cal or taking part in any of the Cals. If you're in the Loop and Bar Ravelry group and you want to come along and just see who else is in the random chat room, as it were, chat group or thread, just have a little look through that and chat away. Doesn't matter what about, anything you want. That's why it's called a random chat thread. I think there's quite a lot of talk of Colin Firth and Poldark. Been going on. Poldark's on tonight, yay! It's one of my favourites. And for the podcast itself on YouTube has got, as of about 10 minutes ago when I checked, 377 subscribers, so that is brilliant. So thank you to everybody who's subscribed as well. It's very exciting to see the numbers creeping up. I just did an over 200 subscribers giveaway. Well done, Isabel from Derby, who won the project bag, and thank you very much for your lovely message to say that you'd received the bag. That's really nice to know that you liked it and that you got it. Okay, so we're approaching 400, so I'm thinking either at 400, maybe at 500, depends how long that takes. Maybe at 500 because we've got quite a bit going on with the Cal. If we reach 500 subscribers to the podcast, I'll do another giveaway, so watch this space on that one. But I'm really happy with the amount of people that we've got subscribing. It's fabulous. And the Cal, the Cozy Autumn Along, I'll just talk about that a little bit. It's really busy chatter thread over in the Cozy Autumn Along chatter thread. We've got some very talky people over there, and some super duper knitters, and quite a few finished objects already. So that's the Cozy Autumn Along knit along that myself and Antonella are hosting. So Antonella of the Antonella Makes podcast. There is a chatter thread in the Loop and Bar Ravelry group, and also in the Antonella Makes Ravelry group. So I have to admit I've been mainly interacting in the Loop and Bar Ravelry group because I've been on holiday for a week, so I wasn't able to interact quite as much anyway. And then when I got back from holiday, there's such a lot to catch up with all the chatter that's been going on and all the knitting. I've dipped in a little bit to the Antonella Makes chatter thread, but I mainly have been sort of trying to keep up with the chatter thread on the Loop and Bar podcast group. So yeah, I'm trying to dip into both. But thank you to everybody who is taking part in that. It's a really, really fun Cal. I've loved meeting the people that are in it and getting to know you all. I'm really enjoying getting to know everybody better. And we're going over to the random chat a little bit and chatting a little bit there as well. But there's lots of chatter going on in the Cal thread, and that's nice as well. Keeps it interesting. So looking forward to continuing to see your projects and the things that we're knitting together. And yeah, keep having fun, keep knitting everyone. And yeah, and remember, there's no pressure to finish anything, no pressure to do anything more than one project. We've got some crazy knitters, including myself, who have got a list of about 5 things that they want to make. And actually some people have already finished some of the larger projects, so power to them, that's brilliant. I wish I could be as, what's the word? I am devoted. I'm just not as focused. I'm just not very focused. I can flip from one project to another and then totally wander off and do something completely different. So, but I think I'm quite proud of, I'm just looking at the things I'm going to show you, I'm quite proud of what I've managed to do so far. So, so that's the Cal. So the whips that I'm going to show you are actually all related to the Cozy Autumn Along Cal and the FO as well. So I'll show those in a second. And I just briefly mentioned there that I've been on holiday, so me and Avion went to Cornwall for a week, and we stayed in Looe, which is East Cornwall, just near the border with Devon. And I think a little bit further on I might talk about that and just insert a few pictures, because a few people were asking, saying that they might like to see some photographs of the holiday, so I'll do that a little bit further on. But I'm going to dive in with some knitting stuff to show you, because I know that's what everybody likes to see. I certainly do when I'm watching a podcast. So I'll start with my finished object, and that is the treehouse hat. The pattern is by Melody of Bee Mandarins, and this is my finished treehouse hat. And I really, 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 really love it. And the yarn, I just happen to have the label here, is the Julie, I don't even know if I'm saying this right, I think it's maybe Aselin or Aselin. But anyway, that's the name of the lady that, I believe this is hand-dyed yarn. So, and it's a really beautiful sort of warm grey-brown colour, and it's got flecks of different colours in it. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Maybe you can see some little pink flecks coming through. There's blue, there's some kind of golden yellows in there. There's some cream, there's some pale turquoise. It's just got all these lovely little colours all... Oh, there's a little fleck down there, all coming through. And it's really super, super soft. And I love the pom-pom. Now, I don't have a pom-pom maker, and I forgot to buy one from Yona at the knit night shop when I went to my knit night, so I ended up having to make this with a bit of cardboard made into a ring like we used to when we were kids. And it didn't take that long because I think I doubled up the yarn or even made it 4 strands, so didn't take very long, but I'd forgotten how difficult it is to cut around the ring once you've filled it all, so that made my hand ache a little bit, but I'm really pleased with the result. So I'm going to model it. I have tried this on and I know it fits. It's really super cosy. I haven't attempted to model this yet on camera, so I've no idea how this is going to work out, but I'll put a big tree at the front for you. Yes, yeah, I really like it. So, okay, my hair looks a bit weird with it, but it doesn't really matter. You'll just have to ignore that. There we are, and it fits. I'll turn around. I'll turn around on the chair. It might creak. That's the handy thing about having a swirly chair, a swivelly chair. So I think this fits really nicely. It's got a long brim. So, and the last time I showed this hat, all I'd knitted was the brim up to there. So since I showed it last, I've knitted all of that and pulled some back and then re-knitted it. So I'll take it off now because although it's gone a little bit chilly today, it's not cold enough to be wearing a big woolly bubble hat. Oh, messy hair now. So I'm really pleased with that. I love it. And I think it fits just perfectly. And I think I like the wide brim because I think I'm going to be able to pull it down over my ears as well if I need to. What did I want to say about this? Oh yeah, hang on, let me grab them. Can I find? Got a jar full of needles here. And in that jar I've got a couple of my favourite little tools that I used. I don't know if you can see them very well, but these are rosewood. I've got another one somewhere as well, I think it's an even thinner one. Rosewood cable needles, so I've been really, really looking forward to using those in a project, so I got to use them for this project, which was brilliant. Put them back in the jar so they stay safe. What else am I going to say about it? Oh yeah, so in the pattern, once you've finished the section with the trees, which is a charted section, the way I interpreted the instructions meant that I knitted a certain portion of the hat without doing anything, without any decreases or anything. I'm going to try and be careful not to give the pattern away or anything, but I think I can probably say this without giving any pattern details away. And then of course, to get the shape at the top, there's you commence decreasing. I did that, and then I did the decreases, and I got near to the top, and I put it on, and it was really tall. The hat was too tall, and because it's not, I've knitted it with quite a tight gauge, and it's given me quite a stiff fabric. It meant that whereas a looser gauge and a floppier fabric would have probably made a really nice slouch, and I would have probably kept it and been happy with it, but it didn't look right. It was just standing up and looking, as I've said in the Ravelry thread, a bit like a Pope's hat. So the only problem was that I'd knitted too much here, really, between the top of the tree and the bit where you decrease. So I just pulled it back as far as the trees, the tree tops, and then I did a few rows, and then I started the decreases. So that's the only modification that I made to the hat. And I say modification, but it could be that that was what was supposed to happen. I'm not totally clear. So, but that really worked for me. So if you are making this hat, I do just suggest, just once you get past the tree bit, just keep trying it on, and allow, I don't know, well, it depends on your gauge, but I've got about 2.5, 3 inches worth of the portion where you've got your decreases. So yeah, if you think that that's, if you know what I mean, you'll kind of be able to work out where it's going to close up and end. Yeah, you might not need that amount of rows in between your decreases unless you've got quite a floppy fabric and you want a slouchy hat. So anyway, that was my experience of knitting the hat. I really, 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 really love it. See if I can give you a close-up of those lovely trees. Really, really pretty stitch pattern. So, and Melody's got another pattern that's a little bit similar. I think she's used something similar to the tree, and then it's got some eyelets as well, and it's called Woodsy, and that is in my library, and it's on my list of things to make. I might make it for my friend for Christmas. I don't know yet, we'll see if I've got time, but that would make a really nice Christmas present, I think. Finished hat, yay! So that's for my Cozy Autumn Along as well. So I'm quite pleased that I've managed to get a finished object, because we've got quite a few other people who have got finished objects, so I think the host needs to at least have had one small finished object. Just have a little drink. I've got iced tea. I made the iced tea yesterday, and it's sitting in a jug in the fridge, and it's in my lovely cup from, is it from Rice? A company called Rice that my friend Emily bought me for my birthday, one of 2. And iced tea is the most refreshing drink ever, ever, ever. It's lovely. I've just made it with plain tea, not brewed too strong, lemon juice and sugar, a couple of spoonfuls of sugar, and then stirred it all up and put it in the fridge. Love it. Right. The next thing, I'm going to do some ticking. Oh, that wasn't even on my list. Yes, it was. There's quite a lot on my list to show you. Right, okay, the next thing I'm going to show you is, I'll show you a little tiny whip. These I don't think I've showed yet. I showed the pattern, so again I've cast these on for the Cozy Autumn Along. And it's another pattern by Melody of Mandarins, and all I've got to show you, which is more than I've done before, is the cuff. But this is going to be the Treehouse Mittens. So the Treehouse Mittens are designed to accompany the hat. Well, I don't know if you... They've got the same tree motif on anyway, but I think just one and then some more sort of decoration around the side. I haven't got the picture here to show you, but I've showed it on a previous podcast anyway. Treehouse Mittens by Melody of Mandarins. And yeah, that's what I've done so far. It's just some rib. I've got them on 9-inch circulars. I wanted to have a go at knitting them on these instead of using Magic Loop. I've knitted mittens on Magic Loop, and they turned out absolutely fine, but I go a bit quicker when I don't have to keep pulling the cable through. So yeah, and I'm finding it okay knitting on these little needles. You just have to just acclimatise to using tiny tips. The pattern starts with a 1x1 rib, and I started knitting the 1x1 rib, but my rib looked a bit loose and the stitches weren't very neat, and I wasn't really very pleased with it. So I pulled it down and cast it on again, and I've modified it to using a 1x1 twisted rib. So rather than knit 1, purl 1, I'm doing knit 1 through the back loop and then purl 1. So it's really tightened up. They're not tight that I can't put them on, I just mean they've tightened up and neatened up my stitches a lot more. So, and I'm using the lovely yarn that Melody gifted to me from Estonia, which I've spoken about a lot as well, so I won't go on too much about that. But it's beautiful. I love knitting with it, and I can't wait to see the tree pattern emerging, and I'm going to get to use my lovely little cable needle again. So, but I think I've got about 4 inches of this rib to knit before I can start knitting on the tree pattern. So that's been good car knitting because it's so small and portable. So I found that I can actually knit in the car if Evion's driving. I previously thought that it would make me feel sick knitting in the car, but I found out coming back from Cornwall on a 7-hour journey, which is actually when I finished my hat, that I can knit in the car. So that's good. That was a good discovery, and I got quite a lot done. So I'll continue to knit on that. I'm juggling a lot of knitting projects at the moment. So I will show you the next whip. I'm going to just go through my whips, I think. Yeah. Something else I started. Did I cast this on while I was on holiday? Oh no, I've showed you this in a podcast. It might have been. I showed you this in the last podcast episode actually, and I've knitted more than I'm going to show you because I knitted and then I had to pull some back, unfortunately, and re-knit it a little bit. So it is my featherweight cardigan. I totally love it. I really love the yarn. I really, really love the colours. You're seeing it upside down, actually. Oh. It's just easier to show you it this way, but the bottom there is the neckline. Did this last time, got it all. Okay, so you can see how the raglan sleeves are shaping up. And basically, I think the last time I showed this, I was probably down to about there. So it's doubled in size since the last time you saw it, but it doesn't really look any different because it's still just basically the same shape. So I was hoping to be able to show you it divided off for the sleeves, which is where I had got to. On holiday in Cornwall, I managed to knit all the way down to the bit where you divide the stitches up and put the sleeves onto holders, onto waste yarn, and I'd knitted a few inches of the body as well. And then I tried it on. I put all the stitches, well, some of the arm stitches onto long waste yarn, and tried it on, and it just felt a little bit tight under here. And I thought, well, I can't knit this gorgeous yarn, spend all this time knitting on this beautiful yarn, and have a cardi that's uncomfortable. It's not very nice when it's too tight under the arms. So I just thought, oh well, it's only a few inches, I'll pull it up, pull it back, and continue knitting and increasing until I've got. I'm doing it until I've got a measurement here, which is from here to here. So that's that bit. I'm doing it until I've got a measurement of 21 centimetres. I took one of my favourite quite close fitting small cardigans, which I'm thinking is going to be the same sort of fit that this cardigan will be, and I just flattened it out and measured that bit here. And also with the sleeve flat I measured this bit across here, and I think that needs to be whatever measurement it was when I did it. I'm going to actually remeasure it because I've forgotten actually. But I'm going to knit it until I've got those exact measurements of that cardigan, because I know that cardigan fits me perfectly. It won't be a problem with the neckline. The neckline, this bit's fine. That's long enough. I just need it to come down a bit further and be a little bit wider at the arms, just to make it a little bit more comfortable and not tight. But I'm not far off achieving that, so the next time you see it I will definitely have divided it off for the sleeves and hopefully knit quite a bit on the body as well. So yeah, I won't show you it until I've got something more substantial to show, but the fabric, the colour pattern is just gorgeous. And this is Madeline Tosh Merino Light. It's a single yarn. Colourway, calligraphy. Really, really love it. So I'm very pleased with that. So it's really, really good project to knit in front of the telly. Poldark. Me and Poldark have got a date tonight with my knitting. So I'll do a bit more of that tonight when Poldark's on. Yeah, so that's my featherweight cardi. Tick. Oh, I'm so organised. Actually, yeah, I need to tick all of that as well. Okay, I'm going to show you another finished object. It's a sewing finished object and I love it. I'm really, really, really excited about this because this one belongs to me because there's a tiny little fault in it, which I'll tell you about. But I've started making bags for the Etsy shop properly, as in I've made a proper pattern, I've written down instructions to myself so that if I go for a few weeks without making it, I can just go back into my notebook and read step by step, take myself through it step by step. I've made a proper pattern piece or pattern pieces. So I think what might have been holding me back is that I'd made some project bags kind of just with random measurements. I'd put some notes on post-it notes and then kind of lost them or didn't know which ones corresponded to which bags. So I knew that I had some nice bags made, but I wasn't quite sure how to make them again. And I wanted to get them the process a bit more organised and a bit more uniform. Because that just makes it less time consuming, even though it's enjoyable to do. You still want to sort of make it as efficient time-wise as you can if you're going to sell the bags. So, I think my chair's about to break. So, anyway, oh, I love it. I just feel so excited when I look at it. I've got a finished project bag to show you, and then I'll show you some of the ones that are just in the making since last night. So it just goes to show when you're organised, you've got your pattern, you've got all your instructions and you've got everything laid out that you need, and you make, I think I've got 7 there. And basically I chose the fabrics, I paired the fabrics up, then I cut everything out last night, rather than cut one, sew one, cut another one, so choose, cut, sew, do it like that. I paired up like a group of them, decided to do them all in the same style, just to keep things simple, to get myself on the, off the start line as it were. And anyway, I ended up with, oh my god, I love this fabric so much. This one, I love it. Actually, I'm really, 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 really pleased that I did it a little bit wrong inside because it means I get to keep it. So this is some fabric that I showed you in a couple of podcasts ago. That's a Tilda fabric from the Apple Bloom range, I believe. And I think this, well, I don't just think, I know it because I've got the thing here. It's an Amy Butler fabric from the Amy Butler's Stash Gypsy Caravan range. This is the selvage for Rowan. So I got that from my local yarn shop. And this, anybody recognise this? Is a very beautiful fabric. I believe in fact I know that's a Tilda fabric as well. I've only used a small amount of the Tildas because they're very precious. But I just love the colour combinations. And as you can see, it's got a box bottom. It's got a little thread sticking out. That's my favourite style. And it's the first time that I've made a drawstring bag with a box bottom. So I've combined all my favourite bits about bags and put them together into one. So that is probably going to become the kind of loop and bar simple bag. So it's a drawstring, and it's got a plain cream lining. Oops. And this doesn't have any pockets or anything. It's not interfaced or lined, but it actually does stand up. Sorry, it is lined. It's not interfaced, but it does actually stand up quite nicely on its own. I think that's because the lining is quite, it's actually an Egyptian cotton. So, I don't know, I think it just stands up quite well. And, yeah. So, that's the loop and bar. Nice, plain and simple, but really, really pretty and gorgeous and beautiful bag, even though I do say so myself. But that's the kind of thing that's going to be in the shop soon. And in it, I'll show you the other ones in a minute, but I'll just show you what's in the bag first. So we'll chop and change a bit here. I've got a whip. So I just finished that bag about half an hour before starting the podcast, and I just I just had to start using it. So I put one of my autumn cozy autumn along, keep getting that wrong, cozy autumn along whips in it. So I've got a good excuse to carry it around. So this is the cowl. I'm knitting it with the beautiful alpaca yarn sent to me by Antonella. So this comes all the way from Canada in a blue-violet colourway, and the alpaca who gave this yarn, the fibre, was called Violet. So, and it's a really, really beautiful colour. And as I'm knitting with it, I'm seeing that it's actually very subtly tonal, and I love that. I absolutely love that in a yarn colour. So it's really beautiful. I've started with a few rows of garter. I'm basically making this pattern up, but I'm using a chart, a lace repeat stitch from a free pattern that was on Ravelry for the Baby Chalice blanket, I think it's called. And it's a 10 stitch lace repeat, so yeah, I've just sort of put a post-it note either side of on the chart so that I've highlighted the repeat, and I've worked out the amount of stitches I needed, although I did my maths a little bit wrong and I've ended up with a gigantically long cowl. I don't actually know how I did that. I don't think I'm that bad at maths. I've got a GCSE in maths, but sorry, my computer went off then. But sometimes numbers don't work for me, and this time they didn't, but it's okay because even though it's long, and it's longer than it looks because it's a little bit bunched up, so it actually will stretch out quite a bit further, as you can see. I'm going to do that thing where you twist it and then have it double. So I'm keeping a conscious sort of eye on how wide I'm going to knit this, or should I say how deep I'm going to knit it, because the final thing will be worn probably mostly twisted and doubled. So I think if I knit this too high up, it won't wear very well in that sort of style. So I'll just have to keep trying it as I'm knitting it. But so far I've done some garter stitch for the bottom, and I've done a full lace repeat, which I think is not really showing up very well on the... You can't really see the pattern, but it's a really nice lace repeat. I think if I stretch it, it'll just make it... Oh, there you go. Probably a bit harder to see, but that's just one lace repeat. So I think what I'm going to now do is a second full lace repeat, and then probably, I'm pretty sure that that's going to be high enough. And then another inch of garter. So the whole thing's going to be double what you see in terms of the height of it. And I can't really show you the full length, but you'll see that when it's finished anyway. But I'm loving it. I really love it. I'll show you it like that because the colour's going out a bit. It's really soft and it's really drapey and it's really lovely to knit with. And I totally love the colour. I'm using all my stitch markers on here, every 10 stitches. I think I've got something like, I wrote it down on my chart, 280 stitches I worked out that I needed. I could probably have made a cowl with half of that. I did do a gauge swatch, and I maybe should have just done a wider gauge swatch, a longer one. Charlie's dreaming. Charlie's having a dream. Just let her have a little dream. She's twitching her legs, going like that. She's laying on the mat here. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so that's 280 stitches, so it takes a little bit of time to get all the way round. This is really a bit like knitting on a full-scale shawl, I suppose. In fact, I think a shawl might not quite have that many stitches, I'm not sure. Just dropped my yarn. Oh. Anyway, it takes a little while to get round, but, oh yeah, and I'm using one of my favourite little stitch markers. This is from Homespun House, this one. It's a little baby teacup. Oops, and I think it goes really nicely with the project as well. Yeah, I think I could probably, if I wanted to do another one in a different colour, I could probably very, very easily just do half of that easily. But I'm not going to undo it all and recast it on. I don't think there's any point. I think it will be really nice that it'll be a double one, because I could just wear it as one long drapey cowl as well. And the nice thing about that is if I'm out walking the dog and I've got it on doubled up and then get a bit warm, you can undouble it and just have it draping down. So that's quite functional actually, that it's a longer shape. But yeah, I probably could half the amount of stitches and just knit a single tube cowl as well. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out to be in the finished product. And what I decided to do as well was a, what's it called? A German twisted cast on. So I learned a new technique. I used the Very Pink Knits tutorials on YouTube, and I googled Very Pink Knits German twisted cast on, or stretchy cast on, I think. I wanted something stretchy for garter stitch. And this is brilliant. So that's the cast on edge, and it just gives you that really nice stretchy cast on. So I think I would use that for everything now. It's a little bit fiddly to get to learn. You have to watch the YouTube tutorial a couple of times. But once you've got it, it's fantastic. And I've managed to get it to stick in my head because I had to use it again in the car, and I managed to remember how to do it, so I was really proud of myself. So the German twisted cast on I really recommend that for any cast on where you want your edge to be a bit stretchy, and it's very neat. And I'm not the neatest at casting on, but this does seem to be quite neat and consistent, so I recommend it as a technique, definitely. So that's the cowl. Is there anything else to tell you about that? No. So when I've finished it, I might just, once that's a finished object, I might either on the blog or on the Ravelry group, probably in the podcast thread, which I never put my show notes in, I'll just write down what I did for the pattern, so anyone else who wants to use it can do, or I'll put it on my project pages in Ravelry. That's what I'll do. That's the best place to put it, because it's not, I can't claim that to be my design, because basically I'm just using a stitch pattern from another free pattern, so it's not something I'm going to sort of say, it's not something I'm going to design and then sell as a pattern or anything, but I'm happy to share that if anybody else wants to know. I'm just happy to share what I did to get it once it's finished. So that is that WIP. And I do have other things on the needles, but because I've been busy with those things, I haven't really made any progress. I have started my Be Kind shawl. I did have some knitting on that to show, but I then actually realised after doing about 4 or 5 inches, I got about that much done. I mastered the short rows and the bit about turning it, and started to see the little eyelet pattern coming through. Love it, love knitting on that. It's a really nice pattern. I'm going to need a lot more stitch markers. But after a few inches, I realised that I had chosen a size of needle that was too small, and it was giving me a fabric that I wasn't very happy with. I wanted the fabric to be slightly looser. Love the yarn, loving the colours, love the pattern, going to love the shawl, but definitely need to use a 3.5mm needle instead of a 3mm, which is what I've been using. So I'm going to have to hijack my needles from my Andrea's shawl, which, poor thing, has been languishing a little bit neglected lately. But I'm just going to have to, in order to join in with the Be Kind Cal, I need to get that cast on in the next few days, and get knitting on that as well, because I really want to join in with the Cal. I haven't really joined in very much so far, but I am in that Cal as well. So that's the Be Kind Cal. There is a Be Kind Cal thread, chatter thread, on the Antonella Makes podcast group, and there is a Be Kind, oh, I can't think of the words I need to say now. It's really hard to say that. A Be Kind Cal chatter thread on the Wool Club Ravelry group too. So those are the 2 places where I'm joining in terms of chatter and sharing what I'm doing, or will be next week a little bit more on that one. So in the next episode I hope to be able to show you that cast on and some significant progress on it. So watch this space. Right, I just need to take a little breather because I'm feeling a bit out of breath from talking. It's my sinuses. If my sinuses are really swollen up and I talk a lot, I can get a bit out of breath. Don't think I take enough oxygen in. I'll have a little drink just to what's the word? Just to refresh myself. On the farm, I have been very busy with Charlie. Every time we go out for a walk, we take a bowl and we collect brambles. And I don't know where you're at in your part of the country, if you're in the UK or in other countries where you collect brambles at this time of year. So I don't know if they've already sort of been and gone in other places, but in where I live on our farm we're a bit high up, so the temperature's a bit cooler, which means that everything seems to happen at least a month, if not 6 weeks to a bit more, later than a lot of other places. Certainly even the village where I work, because it's a bit lower down, a few miles away, it's as if they're a season ahead of us. So we're just right in the middle of bramble collecting and I love it. And I've got loads and loads of tubs full of brambles, or, well, we call them brambles, but you might call them blackberries. I think most people call them blackberries, but I grew up calling them brambles. And I love bramble and apple pie. I love bramble crumble, and I might make one for tea tonight. So Charlie and I, every time we go out for a walk, we've been collecting brambles. She's heard me say the word walk now, and she's looking at me very expectantly. We'll go after this. Yeah, because we're going to go back out, and I did spot when I was on one of my bramble picking missions, I also spotted some sloes. I tried collecting sloes last year, but by the time I went out there, walked all the way up to the top of the farm where I know there's some sloe trees, and we can go there. We can go there, Charlie. We'll go to that tree. There weren't any sloes on the tree, which was a bit sad. And I don't know if I just went out too late in the season, or if they just didn't grow that year. But this year, I have seen lots of lovely fat, juicy sloes. So I'm going out after this podcast with the dog, and I'm going to get a bowl full because it won't be for myself because I'm not really into spirits or anything. Is it even a spirit? But I want to make some sloe gin for my stepmum, Babs, who really, really likes sloe gin. And I thought it would make a nice Christmas present. And one of my favourite books off my bookshelf is this Hedgerow Handbook. And it's got a recipe for sloe gin. And it's got the most beautiful, beautiful illustrations inside this book, which is what makes it one of my favourite books. And I've got a bookmarker here. That's Tobermory in Scotland on the Isle of Mull. Avion and I went there a couple of years ago to Scotland, and we went onto the Isle of Mull, so I bought one of these little, it's a book of bookmarkers, so I've forgotten I had that. That's a really nice picture. But here's just a little sneak peek, and I just love this book because of these gorgeous illustrations, and I love the fact that some of them are just left as a drawing, some of them are painted in. And it shows all the different parts of the plant. And then it's got a little bit about what you can do with that plant, how it's been used historically for culinary uses and for medicinal uses, and just a little bit of information about that too. Where's the bramble? I'll show you that. No, if I can, I think they call it the blackberry in here. So yeah, I keep meaning to make elderflower cordial as well, but we didn't have a very good harvest of that this year. I need to locate some really, really good elderflower for next year. Because I've got the citric acid. I bought that for dyeing. Here's the illustration of the blackberry. Yeah, they call it a blackberry, but I call them brambles. I just love all those different colours of purple. It's so, 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 so gorgeous. Such a lovely illustration. If I had have thought at the time to buy 2 of these books, then I would be able to take a page out and frame them, because I really want to take these out and frame them and have them around my house. But I'm not going to do that because I love this book so much. So, but it tells you a little bit about what you can do with brambles as well. See, I just usually put them in pies, but apparently you can make a cordial, a blackberry sorbet, which would be nice, chili blackberry syrup, blackberry and crabapple jam, yeah, blackberry leaf tea. So, brilliant little book called The Hedgerow Handbook. So if you're interested in foraging and want to know a little bit about the history of the types of things that you can find in British hedgerows and what you can do with them, that's a really nice little book by Adele, oh dear, I don't know how to say her last name. There you go. Adele Nozadar? I don't know how to say the name, but anyway. So that's a lovely little book. So I shall be going out after this, collecting some sloes and using the recipe in there. It's a long process, I believe, but the first thing I'll do is get them back and pop them in the freezer. That's what it recommends to do in the book, and that will, once you defrost them, and put them into the gin, it will break the skins. And I haven't bought the gin yet, so I need to freeze them anyway to keep them from going off. So that's perfect. I'll get the gin in the next couple of days. Oh, I didn't put my marker back in. There we go. Okay, so that's one of my favourite objects from around the house, really, because it's so pretty. I was going to talk about another book, but I think I'll leave that till next time. It's one that I posted a picture of on Instagram a while ago, and somebody asked me a question about it, and I keep meaning to go back and answer the question, so I'll just go back into Instagram and answer that person's question, but I'll talk about that book maybe on the next episode, because it's quite an interesting book. So yeah, I'll keep that here for the next one. The Welsh word for the episode, I was thinking what word could I use for this episode, and I thought, because we're doing the Cozy Autumn Along and it's now starting to feel a bit like autumn, although I'll do a little tiny mini weather report just on Wednesday morning, so 4 days ago, whatever that, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 5 days, 4, anyway, whatever, about half a week ago, Avion reported that it had been 17 degrees Celsius outside at 4:30 in the morning. That is unbelievable. And that turned out to be a really hot day. And I think that was the day, if anybody follows me on Instagram, you may have seen a photograph of me very happily swimming in a river. I think that probably was that day, because it was roasting at work all day. And in the village where I work, there is a river that runs right through the village, and it's a nice wide river, and it's a safe river in terms of having a dip. There's a lovely safe sort of pool bit that just peters out to a bit that goes to some rocks, but it's not, how can I say that? Yeah, if you were to float off in that direction, all you'd do is just reach a bit that was shallow. So it's a nice safe river to go in. And there's a bit where you can get down on some big flat rocks and you can sunbathe on those rocks, and then you can go for a dip, and then you can get back out again really easily. So I rang my friend from work and said to her, did she want to meet me? This is Avion's cousin, Neris. Did she want to meet me after work and go for a dip in the river? And to my absolute delight, she rang me back and said yes. So she met me, she brought me a towel because I hadn't planned it at all, so I went in my knickers and bra. Doesn't matter, it looks like a bikini. So we had a very refreshing dip and a nice sort of sit and a chat on the rocks afterwards, and I actually did a bit of my knitting as well while she did some extra long swimming. She's a wild swimmer, she goes in lakes and rivers everywhere, so she did a bit more swimming than me. I got a bit chilly, so that was brilliant. And why was I talking about that? Oh yes, because I wanted to say what the weather was like. So that morning it had been 17 degrees Celsius at 4 in the morning, or at 4:30 in the morning. This morning, Avion reported to me, which is only a few days on, It was 5 degrees Celsius at around about 4 or half 4 in the morning, which is when he gets up and goes out to milk the cows. So massive, massive difference. So earlier on in the week it was very, very summery, or Indian summery, and now today there's been that lovely fresh, crisp feel to the air. We've had a lovely day of sunshine, and it's feeling a bit chillier. So I can feel the autumn definitely coming, especially what with all my bramble picking activity. So the Welsh word of the episode, which has taken me ages to get to, sorry, is going to be the word for autumn. And that word is Hydref. So the Welsh word for autumn, Hydref. Incidentally, that is also the Welsh word for the month of October, which is in the autumn anyway, so yeah. So that's the Welsh word. What else have I got to talk about? Oh yeah, I've got one more thing to show you. It's from the garden. It's a little bit of a finished object. After 2 years of failing completely, this is the 3rd year, and I think probably would have been my final year of trying, and I think I would have given up after this. But I finally got a harvest of delicious tomatoes. I know this isn't knitting, it's gardening, but these, I've been eating these like sweets. They are so tasty. I picked these off the plant today. I'm so pleased with these. And there's loads more out there on the plant ripening, so we're going to have, I think, at least a few more weeks of tomatoes. So I'm going to give a few away to the neighbours and store quite a few, maybe cook them and make something with them that I can freeze, maybe soup or just tomato sauce, just like plum, like tinned plum tomatoes, and just put them in the freezer so I can use them for cooking. And just enjoy these ones like just raw, just like eating them like apples. But for 2 years running, I tried to grow tomatoes and it didn't work. The plants just kept dying. Oh, they kept getting blight, I think. So this year I scrubbed the greenhouse from top to toe in the very early spring with hot soapy water, and gave it a good scrub every inch of it. And then, rather than using plant pots, which quickly dry out when we have a hot day, and if I'm at work I can't water the plants, so they can dry out and then I can overwater them, and I think that might have been what was going wrong with them. I used a massive crate that I found on the farm. It's at least 1 metre by 1 metre and then 1 metre deep. Basically I made a planter out of that and put it in the greenhouse so that the tomatoes could establish more of a root system, and also I could soak the soil in the morning before going to work, and because of the volume of the soil it meant that the tomatoes don't dry out during the day. And I think that's been the success, the factor that has given me success. And given me these delicious, lovely tomatoes, and they're so gorgeous. And I used them last night in, what did I make? I made a curry, and I found I didn't have any tinned tomatoes in the cupboard, so I just used a load of these, and it was brilliant. So I'm really pleased with that. Oh yeah, and one last thing to tell you is, that leads quite nicely onto it, is tomorrow, which is Monday, very, very exciting and a little bit scary as well. I am starting a course. I have signed up to go on a gardening course. It's the RHS Level 2 Horticulture practical course. And I'm not sure how long it's for, but it'll be something like 2 terms. It's a few months, it's a good few months. It's within 1 year anyway, this course. So within 1 academic year, and it's 1 day a week, so I'll be going every Monday during term time. It's an hour and a half away, but that's okay, I don't mind that. I'm a little bit nervous about the drive tomorrow, just because it'll be the first time and I don't want to be late, and I want to make sure I've got everything that I need, and that I know the way. But I've got a sat nav and I've got all my instructions, so I think as long as I'm organised I'll be okay. I've got everything off my equipment list. It was very exciting. I got an email from the course leader to say that we needed things like cargo pants. I'm going to have to wear what are basically combat pants, but I've found these navy blue ones and they are actually quite nice fitting. And they are handy, I think, because I think they want you to be able to put your secateurs in your notebook and stuff in your pockets. So anyway, I've got those because they're on the list. Steel toe cap boots. Unless you want to pay an absolute fortune, there are no steel toe cap boots that don't look like men's. So I've got these plain black ones because they do the job. The course won't let you do, the people won't let you do the course if you haven't got them, so I had to get them. But they'll be fine. And I chose the waterproof one, so I'm going to probably thank myself for that actually in the winter when we're out there doing winter work. I bought myself a new pair of secateurs to take and notebook, and got a nice ring binder, got all that stuff that they sent me on the list. So it feels a bit like back to school, but in a really good, exciting way, and not in the way that when you were at school and you didn't want to go back to school. This is something that I really want to go and do. So I've been wanting to do a gardening course for a really long time, and so finally I've got round to enrolling on one. So hopefully that'll go okay tomorrow. Hopefully I'll enjoy it. And hopefully I'll find my way there okay and not get lost and end up in Scotland or something, because I'm not very good with directions, so wish me luck on that one, and I'll report back about that in the next episode. I think that's all I've got to... Oh no, I didn't show you my bags that I'm working on. I'll very quickly show you the other bags that I'm working on, because hopefully I'll be able to show you them as finished objects next week, and not only that, but hopefully there will be finished objects that will be going into the Etsy shop. So we're very close to that now. I want to finish some bags, obviously, but I also just want to finish off my little sort of, not business card, but kind of postcards type thing that I'd like to send out with if I sell any bags. So I just need to give myself a bit of time to get that together and sort out things like how I would package up anything that I happen to sell. So I think, just trying to think ahead of everything that I'm going to need before I put anything in the shop. So here's the notebook that I put my instructions in. My sister got me this, it's really cute. So it's a little lined notebook. And I've written my instructions in here, and I've been taping some of my fabric and just making a note of how much fabric I'm using and how much, what kind of quantities I'm using in each bag, so that I know how much I'm getting out of, say, half a metre or a full metre. And that's going to help me to hopefully cost them, because I'm not very good at that kind of thing. So anyway, there's my lovely notebook. I love it. And I'll give you a little glimpse. I got them already, so I think I'll show you. This is my pattern with loads of notes scribbled on it, which don't even make any sense, which is why I wrote them all back out. Wrote them all out in my notebook again. And there's my little square bit, which is what I use to cut out the corners for making the box edges. So it just helps save time when you've got a template for things like that, rather than having to measure it every single time. So as I make more of these bags, I'm finding more ways to make the process much more efficient. So here's one fabric combination. So obviously I've got to the part where I've stitched the fabrics together and the lining, and I just need to put them all together now. So this is some Tilda fabric with a nice linen. So that'll be a nice... I don't know what colour drawstrings I'll have for those yet. I tend to do the bags and then sort of think about that bit after. And here's a nice... Whoops, it's that way. So that bit's the lining. This is a gorgeous, really, really cute fabric, and I'm going to see if I can get this. This was sent to me by Antonella, and I love it. I love it so much. I've still got quite a lot left, which I want to use for something for myself, definitely, but I could not resist using it because it just went so nicely with the other colours. I just wanted to see what it looked like in a bag. And there's another little portion of Tilda fabric as well. So that's a linen and a Tilda, and I think that might be Andover fabrics. But I'll have a look to see if it's on the selvage, because I'm going to see if I can get that perhaps from anywhere in the UK. Or at least something of the similar design, because I really love the colours in that. Some more of the same. So this will be basically the same one as the one I've showed you as a finished object. I had enough fabric to make an exact copy. So there will be one in the shop, whoops, that looks like that one. And then same sort of colour combination, yellow and blue, but same colour at the bottom, but slightly different one at the top. And a plain cream lining. These sort of plain and simple bags are just going to have plain cream mostly, apart from that pink one. Plain cream linings or plain colour linings. I have found a really good website as well. It's called Dragonfly Fabrics, I think. And they do really nice lining fabrics, but also plain linen and plain cotton fabrics, which I think would be really nice as lining. And they're not too expensive, but it looks like they're really nice colours. So I'm going to probably see if I sell anything in the shop, and if I do, I can put a little bit of that money back into buying some more fabrics. So that'll be my first port of call. And then this one is one of these lovely floral fabric that I've showed before. I love the combination of blue and yellow. I'm loving that today. So I've gone a bit blue and yellow on everything, on most things. And that's got the Tilda fabric for the main bits. I probably won't normally be using Tilda fabric for the main body of the bags because that might make them too expensive, but I have done. So if they go into the shop and somebody snatches them up, then that's lucky them. I'm just using some fabric combinations and just experimenting at the moment. So yeah, so hopefully you'll see those next time as finished objects, and possibly even maybe they'll even be in the shop or about to be in the shop by the time I show them again. So I think what I'll do is I will, if I get everything ready, I'll probably get it all ready in the shop and then sort of press publish, as in actually get them active after I've done the next podcast, so I can just let people know first. So I know a few people have been waiting for the Etsy shop, so yeah, so I think that's everything. I'm going to go put my wellies on and have a nice walk with Charlie now. She's waited very patiently, and make some tea, and then get myself ready to watch Poldark with my knitting, which isn't on for a few hours yet, so I've got plenty of time for that. So yeah, I'll probably edit the podcast in between. Right, I'll stop rambling, and thank you very much for joining me. I wish you all a very nice week ahead. I keep sounding like the weather reporter, but I do, and hopefully you'll get lots of nice knitting or sewing or crocheting in. And I'll hopefully see you in the next episode. Yeah, so bye for now.